So much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and feature type today, Estrada. Eric, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I know there's so many people in anticipation, so I would love to just dive into the series of questions.
Sure.
For everybody out there to get to know who you are a little bit better, if that's okay.
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
So I guess let's start with, tell everybody a little about yourself.
So I was born and raised here in Colorado Springs. You don't see that too often nowadays.
Very true. A native, an actual native, right?
Our city's growing like crazy, and so to see, a native here, and, a lot of people that I've gone to high school with moved on, or they've moved on to bigger cities, but a lot of good stuff here. So, born and raised here. Grandparents migrated here from Mexico, and so, born and raised here, just thankful that they gave our family that opportunity, and
sure.
In a sense, we're all immigrants here.
Know
what I mean?
That's
so
true.
it's just one of those things I'm forever grateful for. My grandparents, they worked hard. It was all manual labor, and my grandfather and my grandmother, they just both worked very hard. My grandfather owned tons of land and ranches out in Mexico, and so a lot of hard work. My grandmother, worked until she couldn't. Arthritis and tons of health problems, and she cleaned houses, and she worked hard to give us a better life.
Okay.
So.
And that's a beautiful story to really have that, as far as I'm concerned, that example, right, of the hard work and determination and making it happen for future generations.
Sure.
Which is what I'm assuming you're doing, my friend. So,
trying.
So I guess let's go into that a little bit. So from your background of obviously being a native and then coming into here, what was your progression, in your career? What got you into the business in the first place, and kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, so I attribute a lot to what I've done to my godmother.
Okay.
My late godmother, and she pushed me to do more. She always told me to not cap on things. You could always do much more than what you're capable of, and just never create a ceiling for yourself. And she was a senior vice president here for American National Bank.
Wow.
And my senior year, I was still in high school. I had like one class each semester, so it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And, but I started working for American National Bank, so part-time, and started at a young age, and started with filing things in the back room to working on project management, and got into their corporate marketing division here locally, and banking was about 4 or 5 years, and moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico right after that.
Get out of here, okay.
Not one of my most favorite times, but hey, if you're from Albuquerque, it's a beautiful place, but it's just one of those, I think I was young, I think I was ambitious, and I wanted something new. I wanted to kind of just let my wings spread out and do something different. So stayed in banking the year that I was in Albuquerque, and came back to Colorado Springs. And during that time, it was recession.
Oh, gosh.
Recession time. So,
timing is everything.
Timing's everything. So, 2008, got into the business over at ERA Shields Real Estate. And I kind of got into it just, again, I was ambitious. A lot of people look at real estate as a way to be an entrepreneur and to grow a business, and you don't really have a cap. You create a cap if you have one, and if not, there's no ceiling.
Right. Limitless.
Yeah, exactly. So I was with ERA Shields, well-established firm here locally. Met a lot of great industry professionals there. And it was just one of those things that I learned a ton. And I was more on the brokerage administration side at the time, but just learned a ton. We had fun. And so the Eddie Hertz, Michelle Blessing, Alan Willoughby, Peggy Ulmer, all industry greats here locally, and we had fun. We went to the international business conferences, and really established as a team a really pretty cool community engagement team, or a group, I guess you could call it. And we were on stage multiple times at these international business conferences, got tons of recognition, and I was young, I loved it, I loved the energy, and it was exciting. It was an exciting time. So shortly after that, I transitioned to a larger ERA firm. So same franchise, just a different, same franchise, different firm, and managed well over 1,000 agents at a time.
So, 1,000, Eric. Just so everybody knows, that's a huge number, right? I mean, it's hard enough to manage yourself, let alone 1,000 other people. Okay, so
yeah, so kind of ran the marketing, business development, oversaw operations on a regional level, and at the time we had offices in California, Nevada, Las Vegas, here in Colorado across the Front Range, and down to South Florida. So then I picked up, moved my entire family to South Florida, and again met some incredible people down there. And it's neat to have been able to experience that. I went out there to grow that region, but the memories that I created, the opportunities that were presented in front of me were much more than that. You know, and Nick, Tina Ranieri, we had Maria Quintero, Patty Franco, Gladys, Mikey and Alessandra. I mean, the list goes on and on. Some big industry big hitters out there. David Martyr. Getting to see East Coast real estate and compared to Colorado real estate, way different.
A little different, right?
Way different. And so just, seeing these waterfront properties and, beach homes, beach houses, and, just, it's a whole different type of luxury down there, so you're dealing with $20 million properties, and, it's just a whole different scene, a whole different vibe, and, again, created great memories out there. Transitioned back with the same E.R.A. Herman Group at the time to Colorado Springs, and they became an independent firm and kind of helped grow and run the Colorado Springs region, and now I'm here, Keller Williams Partners. So great place to be.
I think that's a beautiful transition through your career, and a lot of the commonality is leadership, mentorship, constantly growing. The ambition that you've always had in your life, I think, has taken you to different places. It's interesting that you look at it and you've gone and come back and gone and come back. I mean, Colorado Springs is beautiful. It's a wonderful place. So I mean, anybody who lives here can attest to that. So that's really neat. So the nature from leaving E.R.A. to KW, what was the thought process behind that?
Started with a franchise, E.R.A., transitioned to a larger E.R.A., and then that E.R.A. went independent. And at first it was kind of it was one of those things you're like, oh, it's independent, you save costs, you do this, you do that. Nothing against the firm itself, but I felt we lost a lot of value in terms of what we could offer, just the expansion, the multiple offices, thousands of offices across the country and globally, and I think that's important. Networking in our business is extremely important. And most recently we went to KW Mega Camp in Austin, Texas, and just getting back into the game and meeting people and building relationships with people is just, it's the way to do it. You have to do it that way, and so I think there's just too much value in a franchise, no matter what franchise you're a part of. They all offer great tools, and this one was just perfect for me, and Ed Leba, Casey, the whole team here, we're doing awesome things here. So
great people for sure. And so I think this is a good segue into the next question, which is, what's your why, Eric? I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning, makes you do what you do to the level that you do it at?
Yeah, so my why, I'd have to say, are my kids.
Okay, that's a great why.
That's a great why. Most of you guys know, 6 kids. I don't use this term lightly, but they were all adopted. Okay. And so being able to see them, just transition from being in such a difficult point in their life and growing into these beautiful young women, and my son just being the little gentleman that he is, and they all range from 5 to 17, almost 17.
Wow, so, that's quite a spectrum, and a full house.
Full house, 3 dogs too.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So and my partner, I mean, we just make it, we make it work. We have 6 kids, 3 dogs, and couldn't do it without everybody's support. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling, and busy and crazy, but. There's just never a calm moment in my house.
Which is great. Yeah. Again, it fits with your personality of going and pushing and growing.
Yeah.
I think what a beautiful thing about that is, you're talking about your legacy. You're helping molding future, what's happening here. And so that's so much greater than yourself, is family. And to me, there's nothing more important. So I think that's a huge motivator above and beyond, not just for business, but for balance in life.
Sure.
So I think that's great, and everybody needs to kind of take it that way for sure. So let's go into the advisory portion of this, because there's a lot of viewers out here, whether they're new or seasoned, that are kind of looking for advice or tools or tactics that they can grow their business. So if you could look back at your career thus far, Eric, and pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what does that look like for you?
I think sometimes we try to perfect our systems. We try to look at other people, and which is good. We have to gain some insight, some advice from other people. But I think sometimes we dig too deep. Here locally, and again, I've learned so much from the Tom Ferrys, the Larry Kindles, with the Ninja Installation, and but sometimes I think that I learn more from our local peers, and again, to a lot of the names I've mentioned earlier, it's, you see what they're doing on social media, you kind of see what they're, how they're building their business, and and it all starts with building relationships.
Wow.
I think we focus too much on the sales aspect of things, and there's a lot of sales training out there, but
sure.
You kind of have to be yourself. Don't do it for the money, because if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it the wrong way.
Wow. If I could put that in bold letters right across, I would. That's so beautiful. That's so true.
Yeah. And so I think look more to your local business colleagues. Don't look too far. Sometimes you don't even have to spend too much money. As you grow your business, focus on that. But our industry is a roller coaster. It's up and down, and we're kind of hitting that peak again. Where once you peak, what happens from there? It goes back down, unfortunately. And you just have to prepare. Financially. Budget things, create a business plan, and I know I'm kind of just jumbling a bunch of stuff out there, but treat it like a business. Sometimes people get into the business because they want flexibility. It's not going to work.
Right.
And if you're a part-time agent, unfortunately, it's going to be 10 times more difficult. So, take it seriously, get up every morning, create office hours for yourself, and just run with it each and every day. Don't be intimidated by what others are doing or not doing. Treat it like a business and run with it.
I love that. There's so many beautiful nuggets inside there, so hopefully everybody was taking huge notes. But when it comes down to it, not looking at it so much as the sales, but relationships,
sure.
As you were saying, that is huge.
Yeah.
And so many people forget that. And then again, treating it like a business. Those two things combined, ultimate greatness, huge success into that. So again, hopefully everybody heard that, but that's huge, Eric. That's really good. So let's go into the difficult portion of this interview and this series. It's the challenge question. So we all deal with challenges. No one's exempt for that. Whether it's in the past, now, or in the future, we're all going to handle some pretty heavy stuff. So if you could pick a challenge that you dealt with in your life, that you overcame, that you became a stronger man because of it, what does that look like for you?
So, this is, I'm an emotional guy, so if I start joking up,
this is live, everybody.
Just roll with it.
Come on.
But, I dealt with a lot of just loss, and it all started at the beginning of my career. So, back in 2008, 2009, my godmother, who we spoke about earlier, her name was Roseanne, and she was a second mom to me. My parents were great. They had a rocky relationship, but 30 plus years they're still together.
Sure.
Had a roof over our head. We had food on the table. We grew up in I wouldn't say a rough area of town, but we weren't rich. We didn't have a ton of money, but we were fortunate. We didn't have everything, but we had everything we needed, if that makes sense.
It does.
And so in 2009, my godmother, who had been battling breast cancer, she started battling it when I was maybe 12 years old. So, battled it for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And she lost her battle in 2009. And that was as I was moving to Albuquerque. Okay. So I think one of the hardest things for me at that point in time was I wasn't there on her bedside, by her side when she passed. And, my family was there. She wasn't alone. But a lot of regret at first,
okay.
Just because she was my rock. She is the reason I am the man I am today. And, she, I feel like she let go when I left because she knew I was okay. And so it's one of those things where you're just like, it gives you peace. It gives you a little bit of a sense of, just peace and relief. And, sometimes we beat ourselves up and we can't control what happens, every day. And so, lost my godmother, grew up, I have siblings. I have my sister Wendy, brother Jose, and my brother Chris, and in that order from oldest to youngest. And a year after that, already in real estate, lost my younger brother to suicide. And so, just a beautiful soul, just incredible human being. The biggest heart, would take his shirt off his back for anybody. And, that was difficult. He's my best friend. And, I grew up mainly with him and Roseanne and kind of traveling all around the world. And, that loss was just, it was devastating, to say the least.
Yeah.
Sometimes we wake up and we don't have answers to things. We don't know, what is right, what's wrong, what's a good feeling, what's a bad feeling, and ultimately it just comes back to us to prove that, one, I was strong enough to move past that and be in front of, a camera today, cameras other times, to be able to tell a story that is fulfilling. Sometimes we want to give up, or we don't see, just the right path ahead of us, and we have to make change in life. And change is not necessarily the easiest thing in life, but it's necessary. We're humans. I think people get just too wrapped up in politics and gossip and the negativity of our world today. And, what's the point of it? If you were to die today, what was the point of the negativity? It doesn't matter. We should be focused more on our families, the people that we love, the things we love to do, and it's hard sometimes. Sometimes I wake up and I don't want to roll over out of bed.
Sure.
I have the dogs, the little one next to me, and it's all stuff we struggle with. Where nobody's perfect, but if it's any advice, it's just keep pushing forward. We all have struggles, but we're here for a reason, and we need to take that. And my faith in God has taken me to new heights, and just pushed me through moments that I didn't think I could get through, and my family and friends, of course. So
I mean, Eric, what you just shared, first of all, thank you for doing that, because it's not easy. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think that what you shared with everybody, and myself included, is one of the hardest things you can deal with is family loss.
Sure.
Death in the family, multiples into that. I mean, that's just not easy, but you're giving a beautiful example of remembering them for why you love them and what they've done and what impact, and continuing that on in the future.
Sure.
And I think that your message to everybody, which is also amazing, is look, we all have challenges. Just keep moving forward. Think of the positive. This world is too negative.
Yeah.
So just try to be that positive light and keep going. Bad things happen to good people every day, but just keep pushing forward. Yeah. So I hopefully everybody heard that. I appreciate it. So thank you so much, Eric. That is not easy.
Of course.
Let's go a little softer on this one, just to kind of air it all out here. Everybody's hearing. But this is actually one of my favorite questions when it comes down to it. So if you could travel back in time and give young Eric a piece of advice or two, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say slow down, and think about others first. I think we've all gone through that moment where we're young, we're ambitious, and we think about ourselves. We want to push ourselves, we want to get the better job, we want to make more money, we want to do this, we want to do that. And again, in the end, none of that matters. Push yourself, create a life worth living, and make yourself proud, make your family proud. But at the end of the day, I think I would just say slow down, enjoy the moments in life, and just again, it could be taken away from us in a moment, in a second. You know what I mean? So it's important to just keep moving forward and just live life. Do what you're going to do today, and what you're going to say you're going to do. Don't do it tomorrow, because tomorrow might not be there.
Wow, and that's big, and that's not just for young Eric, but everybody who's watching this, myself included. That's huge advice.
Sure.
To really take time to smell the roses. It's not all about that next step, that next level. I mean, set goals in your life, and that's beautiful, and move forward, support your life and your family, but there's more to it, and I think you hit it beautifully on there. So That's great. Again, not just for young Eric, but everybody. So let's go into the next question, which happens to be one of the favorite for the viewers of this series, is what are the Titans feeding their mind? How are they growing their mind and continually hitting the goals and doing what they're doing as professionals? So if you could share, maybe books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers on social media or coaches, what are you feeding your mind, Eric?
So one of my all-time favorites is The Go-Giver, Bob Burg's, John Mann, and one that I'm reading right now is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller. So again, it's Go-Giver is more about two different books. Okay? Yeah, so you have The Go-Giver that's a little bit more about relationship building. Mm-hmm. I'm focusing on individuals and personal relationships and business relationships a little bit more than focusing on how many sales you're going to get and how you're going to get there. On the other side, you have The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, and that's focused more on the systems, the structure, how to move forward and how to really build a business. So I think both are extremely important, and I'm more of one of those just personal, emotional guy. So, which is great. I don't attract too much to the sales side of things. Okay. But that's where, The Go-Giver, Larry Kindle and his Ninja installation has done wonders for me in my business. And it's it focuses more on building relationships and treating people for who they are and not because you're trying to make a sale. If you're focusing too much on the sale, you're losing, in my opinion. And so just focusing on people, building good, solid relationships with them, and the rest will come. The more you give people, the more you'll get back in return. Right. So.
And I think that a lot of professionals and consumers can get that, and it's you just being genuine, being real. You know what I mean? And connecting with people, and the rest will follow, when it comes down to that. So those are some great ads. Just as always, everybody, I'll have links in the comments below so that you can learn and feed your mind the same way that Eric's doing. So I'm really excited about that. So Eric, this has been chock full of information, huge nuggets and takes away. Again, to get to know you as a man, this has been beautiful. So I want to wrap everything up with one final question.
Go for it.
So if you could look at yourself, just kind of have that reflection as a man, as a brand, what you do in the community, and sum everything up with a mantra or a quote that you live by. What does that look like for Eric Estrada?
And this is a quote that I stole from KW Mega Camp. So
okay, that's good. This is good.
During the cultural summit, one of the presenters stood up and said, make money not to have more, but to be able to give back to those who you couldn't live without. And, I wake up every morning and we go from a point in our life where we want a bigger house, we want a nicer car, we want this, we want that. But at the end of the day, my life has shifted a bit to, I have 6 kids now. I have to provide for them and, giving them not necessarily more than what I had, but just giving them a good foundation and giving them the love that they deserve and giving them the support, And so, again, I do this for my kids, for my family, for my friends, for my clients, but ultimately it's not to make more and to have more. It's to be able to give back to my kids, my family, and all of those around me, and community organizations, different nonprofits, here locally, ASPCA, Susan G. Komen, just everything to support cancer research, suicide prevention, it's all important. We need to stay involved and support those organizations that are true to our heart. So
I think that is a beautiful statement. It sums up you as a man and you as a brand perfectly and echoes the entire episode. So I'm super excited. Eric, you are absolutely a real estate titan, my friend. Thank you very much. Yeah, this has been amazing. So
had fun.
Yeah, it's good.
Almost cried, but had fun.
It's there, but it was good stuff. So thanks everybody so much for your time and attention as always. I really appreciate your love and support. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoons, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch you guys on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Thank you.